Bitcoin is something which, there were several attempts before Bitcoin. Okay, there were several attempts before Bitcoin where people were trying to solve the double spending problem. Because what happens that the problem is that you have an image of a currency that doesn't work, right? The moment you remove the third party or intermediary from the equation, things start failing. Things used to fail before. You cannot imagine a system in which transactions can happen. The systems would work without any third party. So that's where what this guy did. So we still don't know who is this guy. He's still holding a lot of bitcoins in his wallet. We have a session on wallet this afternoon about how do you interact with blockchain. So we have a gentleman called Avinash Pitti. So he comes from our sister concern, Nitro Network, and he'll talk about that. But then the question here is that how do you interact with blockchain, right? Bitcoin was a way in which several technologies were, brought together in a very, very interesting way, which made things work. Now, there are issues with that in terms of the energy consumption. Nevertheless, the system worked. And this system worked so flawlessly that there have not been instances in the last 15 years where Bitcoin has been hacked. Now, if you lose your private key, you could lose your money for sure. But there has not been a system. There are forks, which is fine. But the system has not been hacked, which is a tremendous testimony to the thought process that Satoshi had. Okay, but as I talked earlier, that blockchain is the fundamental technology upon which Bitcoin is based, and Bitcoin is one of the implementations of blockchain. But it does not mean that it stops here. And people, as long as people settled on Bitcoin, people started seeing value, and it took some time. And about the pizza day where $10,000 were spent for buying 2 pizzas, and if somebody had held that Bitcoin now, depending upon the current valuation, it's millions of dollars. Now, why did somebody do that? Because he did not have trust in Bitcoin to this extent. He could never have imagined. And I'll tell you, it's not only this. As I was talking about earlier, the way monetary systems are established, the trust, in fact, there is no decree used to be in the past where you go and say, okay, this is the currency. Now, governments can do that. But if you look at, the public systems don't work like that. Tomorrow, you can go and create your own currency, but nobody would care about that. Why? Because there are not enough takers of that. Now, if there are several such coins or tokens which are used in a particular, community-based tokens, there are many of them, where there are takers, where there are givers. So there are small implementation. Now in a way, if you look at it, this is called public money, okay, or private money, not public money, it's called private money. Private money is a very, very interesting concept in which people have the freedom, and I think that's where the states feel challenged. The states feel challenged because their perception about the money has been, and in fact it has become in last 100 years that money has become a state subject, a government subject. There are reasons for that. There are very, very legitimate reasons for that. Those reasons are, if you are a geographically bounded nation, which has got its own, where the state feels the responsibility of maintaining the lifestyle of its citizens, it has got some responsibilities. right? Now coming back to the point, intermediaries can create chaos in the system, and we have seen this. There are different intermediaries and all have the ability to create chaos in the system for their own benefits and advantage. They do all the time. In fact, I was in a bank and then I was dealing with, I will not name the bank, but then I asked some question and they gave me some very stupid response and answer to that. No logic. And I warned them that you are going to become irrelevant very soon. And he was looking at me, why? I mean, what are you saying? I said, yes, you are becoming irrelevant very soon. Because the social force is the biggest force that you can imagine. Right? People were living with these constraints because there was no way out. Now you have got a mechanism, you have got a tool in your hand. And you know, that's how has democracy come into picture. Democracy kaise bana? People started feeling that, look, the social norms need to be defined by everybody in the society. Why should there be one person monarch or whatever you call, why should that person define it? Right? So the point here is that these intermediaries have been causing a lot of issues to the system. And again, so now I'm not an opponent of these intermediaries, because they serve a lot of purposes also. You cannot say that they are completely not required. That will be too. And again, are they going to be irrelevant tomorrow? No, of course not. It will take time. It will take time. But the direction we are moving in, intents or shows that, very, very clearly. And now, how do you create that trust? How do you create that trust which does not need a third party to come and say, okay, you should trust me? How do you create that? Now, technologies give you that mechanism. I have listed some of them here. Distributed computing. Now, distributed computing is also something which really has been for several decades. What do you mean by that? Now, you take advantage of, you take advantage of the compute availability, and you have to manage the procedure in such a way that you are being able to define a SOP or a norm in which you are being able to leverage the capabilities of all these. Now,